everybody. So today I'm doing a mid-month update for you. So I'm just going to talk about the books that I've read so far this month, and then because I didn't get show you guys my TBR for the month, I'm going to show you the books that I might read for the rest of the month. The books that I have on my might read list is like very long. So there's no way I'm going to get to all of them because I don't have that much faith in myself, but I'm hoping I can get through as many of them as possible. We're not going to set a number because we're not going to try to set a goal because I know I won't meet it if I do. So we'll start off with the books that I've read, and the first one that I read this month, or I don't know if it's the first one, they're in no particular order. So one of the ones that I read this month was Spark. This one is an ebook. It's the first book in the series, and actually I've been doing a lot of Kindle Unlimited reading this month. So it's actually one that's available on Kindle Unlimited, and it is about a girl who she discovers that she has unpredictable magic, and she gets sent to a school for people who have unpredictable magic. So in this universe, there are 7/8 branches of magic. So there are 7 core branches, and then there's the 8th branch, which is just unpredictable magic, which is kind of like the catch-all for everybody that's got the weird kind. And it's also a reverse harem book. So if you're not like interested in that, I should explain what a reverse harem is for those of you that don't know. So reverse harem is basically, it's not always like a XXX romance, but it typically is. These kinds of books are books that have one girl with multiple love interests, kind of like a love triangle, except in this love triangle, the girl does not have to choose between the guys. It's possible that she narrows it down between them, but she has multiple romantic interests and basically just starts like a polyamorous relationship. So I think it's a really nice spin on the love triangle is kind of the way I look at it. I like that it's kind of like subverting your expectations in that way. I'm not sure if that's how they arose, but I like that idea. But anyways, this one is not like most of them because they don't have to be XXX romance, but a lot of the times they are. And this one doesn't have as many of those scenes in it as these books typically would, which I think is a little bit unique for this genre. And also the plot is like very, very detailed. Maybe detailed is the wrong way to word it, but it goes into a lot of description of what's happening, and there's a lot of different elements that are happening at once, which is really interesting. The school, like, unpredictable magic is one that's frowned upon, so it's one that like other magic users kind of look down on them, and they're also forced to wear like a brace on their arm that stops their powers until they graduate from the school, and if you choose not to go to the school, then your magic will be taken away from you. So there's that. So it's a really interesting concept, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm basically just doing like a whole magic theme this month because Book Battle's theme is Harry Potter this month. As any of you who are a member of the Book Battle group on Facebook would know. I think a lot of you are members of that. But so yeah, I'm Team Ravenclaw, and so I've just been doing my part and reading lots of like witchy books. And so yeah, that's one of the books I read this month. The next book I read is actually the second book in the series. This one's called Trials. It's kind of similar to the Triwizard Tournament. There's actually a joke made in the book that it's like where they reference the Triwizard Tournament by name, because it's also set in like the modern society. So basically the idea is that like they know about Harry Potter, so they make a couple of Harry Potter references throughout the series. And this one was also pretty enjoyable. Oh, I should mention, I rated the first book, I rated it 5 stars, but I'm going to decrease it down to 4 stars because when I was thinking about it, I usually will give Kindle Unlimited books a little bit more, like more of a rating than I would a physical book for some reason. I'm not really sure why I do that. So I was like, well, that's not really fair that I would rate it the same as, I don't know, XYZ book. I don't have a specific book in mind, but I did really love it, so I don't know, I might leave it at 5 stars because I think it is probably the best reverse harem book I've ever read. So I feel like it does deserve to have some recognition for that. but also, like I said, it's not, like, I'm thinking about, like, other 5 stars that I've read, and I'm not sure that it's really fair to give it the same rating as those. So I don't know. I'm just kind of like, I can't decide. So maybe I would give it like a 4.5 then if I could do that on Goodreads, but I can't, so I don't know if I'm going to change it or not. So for Trials, I gave that one 4 stars, and I am happy with that rating for it. I thought that it was well done, just like the first one, but I noticed a lot more of different things that are just like stuff that probably could have been fixed by an editor if, I mean, it's assumedly like self-published or maybe an indie book. I didn't look into that to see which it was, but I'm assuming if they had the kinds of funds behind them that big publishers have, then they probably would have been able to do some more edits on that. But I did think it was really well done anyways. And then the next book I read was actually Thief, which is book 3 in that series. And I gave that one 4 stars as well. I'm trying to think of, the premise of that one is that somebody is stealing the magic of various people. So that one I give 4 stars to as well. Like, same issue with the one before it, that I noticed a lot more of these little issues with it, but I still thought it was really well done. I liked the character development, but the characters were already kind of developed in book 1, so it was just kind of like continuing on with that. The next book that I read was also a Kindle Unlimited book. This one is Spellwood Academy, and I read book 1 of that, and book 2 is not out yet actually for that one. And this one is about, it's another girl who gets magic, it's not magic. In this one, it's, I thought it was a magic book, but then I realized afterwards it's actually like fae. So she finds out she's got fairy ancestry, so then she ends up going to a school for people that are like, they're part fae, part human. So she gets sent to this school, and so it's basically just about that. At first I thought it was like a Harry Potter ripoff because they get sorted into different houses, but then I realized it's more of like, instead of Harry Potter houses, it's more like sororities and fraternities, because they are kind of like gender sex based, and they do get to choose which ones they go to, so they can kind of like rush each one, and some of them are harder to get into than others. So I thought that was kind of an interesting concept. And yeah, and they've got different, I think it's 7 fairy kingdoms that they could be from. So then they all like, will just say like which one they're from as like a thing, and then like different ones are rivals with others. So that was a really interesting one, and I do plan on continuing that series, and I actually plan on continuing the Unpredictable Magic series as well. I actually already downloaded book 4 for the Unpredictable Magic, but book 2, like I said, is not, for Spellwood Academy, is not out yet, so I can't get that one yet. Actually, it might be, I think it comes out soon though. I'm pretty sure it does. But yeah, I give that one 4 stars. I did enjoy it, but not as much as I liked the other series. But I started to enjoy it a lot more towards the end. One of the characters really reminded me of Rysand. I know I'm not saying it the way some people say it, but I mean, that's the way I like to say it. So from A Court of Thorns and Roses, it was like somebody mashed together A Court of Thorns and Roses and Harry Potter for the Spellwood Academy book. So the guy in it really reminded me of him. And the girl didn't really remind me of Fair, though, but he really reminded me of him, but not as good. So it was like a not as good version of it, but I still really enjoyed it. And I definitely would recommend it to any A Court of Thorns and Roses fans, because it kind of gives you a little bit of a fix until like the new Court of Thorns and Roses series starts up. So the next book that I read was actually 100 Days of Summer. I really did not like this book. I think I gave it 3 stars. And it was about, I had mentioned it before when I was doing my first chapter. I believe it was the first chapter of August Arcs. And I didn't like the first chapter, and I liked it a little bit better towards the end of the book, but I still didn't like it. I felt like the author really didn't do a good job at like not, at like describing what was happening and the emotions the characters were feeling. I feel like they just kind of like, it was very in your face, like, this is how I'm feeling and this is how it is. And I think I didn't do a good job of explaining what exactly the author was doing, but I felt like they were telling you every single one of the emotions, sometimes repeatedly, instead of showing you what the emotions were through like the character's actions. So sometimes a character would act a certain way so you knew they were feeling a way, and then the character would then tell you they were feeling that way, and you're like, yeah, I know. Like, so it kind of felt like the author wasn't really, kind of was like talking down to the reader a little bit. I don't know. That's why I wasn't liking it. But the basic idea of this book is it's about a girl who got in a car accident, and so she is blind, but it's a temporary blindness, or at least the doctors tell her it's going to be. So she is counting down the days until when the doctor said her sight would likely be back by. And then a boy is there helping her run her blog while she doesn't have her sight, because she does like poetry. I really didn't, on a side note, I didn't love the poetry. They included the poetry, and I feel like it might have been better if they hadn't have, because I feel like the poetry, in my opinion, I feel like that's kind of like a subjective thing, and like I subjectively didn't like the poetry that was in it, and they kept talking about how great the poetry was, and in my mind I'm like, no, it's not. But I think I was being really harsh with it because I was already upset with the book, so that might have been why. Maybe I would have enjoyed it more if I wasn't already upset with the book. And I believe that was also self-published, so I think that one could have benefited from from an editor. Because I think it could have been a really great story if it had some work done on it. So then the last book that I've read so far this month is Well Met, and this one was also in one of my first chapter of arcs. I believe this one was a September arc, though. Yeah, this one came out September 3rd. I still have the sticky note on the back of it. This one I gave 4 stars to. I was really enjoying the first chapter of it, but then in the middle it kind of like started to lose me a little bit. The main character kind of was a little wishy-washy in her feelings, and honestly there was a scene in here that really bothered me. It's not a spoiler, but the main character at one point has a beer and then drives to another location, which bothered me because I'm a zero tolerance kind of person. I know some people are like, well, it's under the legal limit, but for me, like, I think it should be like 0-0, and I know that's like a difference of opinion, not everyone's gonna feel that way, but then the character then had another shot, like a shot of, what was it, rum or something, at the other location, with no plan of how to get home again. The character, it doesn't end up being more drunk driving after that, because the character does not have to drive themselves home, but it did bother me, because in my mind I'm thinking, how many people really go out and have a drink and then drive? That part I feel like is more realistic. A lot of people would probably do that. But then to have another shot afterwards, and then the character was like, well, I'm not gonna have more because I know I have to drive home. And it's like, okay, but like, how many people would continue to drink after? I mean, maybe I'm misjudging how many people would do that, but I feel like that wasn't super realistic, or maybe I just really didn't like it and I was just putting my own morals on this character. And I know not everyone feels the same way about this sort of subject, but for me, I thought it was a little unrealistic, especially because this character's sister had just been in a drunk driving accident. That's actually the premise before the book even begins, for why the character is in town. Is because her sister was in a drunk driving accident. Her sister was not the drunk driver. She was hit by a drunk driver. And so she comes to town to help take care of her, and she ends up working at a Renaissance, or volunteering at a Renaissance fair, because her niece wants to be in the fair, and she has to volunteer in order for her niece to be in the fair. So I thought for this character in particular, drinking and then driving felt really unrealistic, because I just really feel like somebody who has a family member who was just in a drunk driving accident would definitely not be drinking and driving. But that was just something that personally bothered me, and I know not everyone would have that issue with it, but it was a huge reason as to why I docked it a star. But the character also had some really inconsistent emotions. Like, it was just very back and forth, which wasn't necessarily unrealistic considering past history of that character. But it was a little frustrating, and so that was another contributing factor, but a lot of it was the driving thing. I did not like that. So now that I've talked about all the books that I've read so far, I'm going to talk about the books that I might read for the rest of the month. So there's a lot of them, so I'm going to go through these really quick with like a 5-second explanation of what they're about. So right here we've got Generation Witch 1 and 2. This one is a manga, and I'll show you the artwork really quick. But I definitely plan on reading this one. It's like a slice of life, or I believe it is a slice of life about these witches, and there should be multiple witch characters, and I believe it's set in a high school. And I'm looking forward to that one. I'm definitely going to get to that. I say I'm definitely going to get to it, and I won't now that I said that. But I really do think I'll be able to get to this one just because it's a manga, so it's a really fast read. So I think I'll be able to do that one. This next one is Hocus Pocus and the all-new sequel. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get to this one because I don't think I'm going to prioritize it because I think it would be great to read in October as well. So I think that this one probably won't be at the top of my TBR for this month, but that I'll move it right over to October if I don't get to it for the rest of September. And Hocus Pocus, I think this might be have both books in it. I'm not sure, I haven't checked. I know I mentioned that in one of my Friday the 13th videos, but the Hocus Pocus is about some witches who are summoned by a virgin, and then they are trying to, what are they trying to do, like commune with the devil or something? I don't really remember what their motive is, but they're trying to steal the souls of children to stay young, is the general idea. So then the sequel is from the point of view of one of the main characters' children from the first book, and it's set 25 years later. So I am definitely interested in, I probably won't read the Hocus Pocus section if that is in there, but I will read the sequel, because, I mean, I've seen the movie, and the movie came out first, so I really don't feel the need to read the book of Hocus Pocus. Although I would love it if they had a movie version of the sequel. I think that would be amazing, and I would totally watch that. So then the next one that I would like to read is Sabrina, Season of the Witch. This one here is, what do you call it? This one is about a girl who has her powers from the devil, and I believe in this one, what is it that's happening in this one? She's wondering if her powers are leading her down the wrong path, and she's wondering, there's like a spell that goes wrong, but I think she wonders about if her powers are leading her down the wrong path in a lot of the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina stories. I feel like that's like a general plot line for like this whole branch of the Sabrina stories, since there's like 2 different directions the Sabrina books kind of go. Because I read the old Sabrina books, so then I thought this one would be nice to read too, and I've read the graphic novels. Oh my goodness, my thing just keeps getting caught, my sleeves keep getting caught in the chair. But I don't know if I'll get to that one. It's not the graphic novel, that one, but I don't know if I've read all the graphic novels, so I might read that too. This one right here is Blue is for Nightmares. I'm not gonna lie, I probably won't read this one, but I'm gonna keep it on my like maybe list anyways, just in case. But this one is about a girl who's having nightmares about is it like a friend or an acquaintance that is being stalked in it. So basically she's just trying to help save that person from the stalker that she keeps having nightmares about. Like I said, I probably won't read that one, or at least not this month. So then this other one is The House of Salt and Sorrows. This one I really want to get to because this was the Owl Crate book in August. So I'm hoping that I can get to it this month because I like to read them the month after they come out. So I am hoping that I'll be able to read this. It's a 12 Dancing Princesses retelling, and it is a dark one where some of the sisters are dead, and they're trying to basically figure out if there's something that's causing them to die, or if it is just all natural causes as it appears to be. Or maybe not natural, but if it's just a coincidence, or if it's something darker. So I'm really hoping that I can get to that one this month. I want to, it's a little thicker, and I've been reading so many of the Kindle ones that I'm not sure if I'll be able to get around to it. So then this next one here is These Witches Don't Burn. This one is about, I believe it's a coven of witches, and there's some sort of a blood sacrifice that happens in the beginning of the story, I believe. I haven't read any of it yet, but it's on the description. It said that I just kind of skimmed it because I didn't want too many details. But I've heard that this one's really good, and I'm really hoping I can get to this one this month. But I'll probably put it on my TBR for October if not. Like, the great thing about doing all these witchy books for September is that pretty much all of them can just move right over to my October one if I don't get to them. This next one here is Waking the Witch. And this one is about, what is it? It's about an orphan of a dark witch, and she's a paranormal investigator. So I'm not really sure. I don't really read a lot of like that kind of books, but I do like the author. She's written some other books that I enjoyed, so I'm hoping that I'll enjoy this one too. So that's why that one's on there. And this next one here is Truth Witch. I definitely have heard great things about this book. I know a lot of people really love this series. Okay, so this one right here is about a girl who has the power to tell when somebody is lying. So she's a truth witch, which is someone that can sense the truth. So I think that's a really interesting concept, and basically just like anything witchy I'm here for. So I'm hoping that I really like this one, just like I know everyone else does, especially because I already bought like I bought the next book in the series already. So I'm hoping I don't hate it because I already have the next one. So then this next one on my TBR is Catching Stars. Alright, so this one is about witches that are on the run, and it seems like kind of like a dark witch telling, a witch story. So I think that there's like some sort of like crime or something one of them was accused of, and it sounds interesting, and it was one of the Owl Crate books one month. I don't remember if I heard anything about anybody reading this one. I mostly just hear people talk about like the hardcover books that come in the Owl Crates, but I am hoping that I enjoy it, and I'm hoping I can get to it this month. And the second to last book I've got on my TBR for September is School of Charm. So this one here is about a girl who goes to a school for magic. And that's pretty much all the details I know about this, other than it's a middle grade, I believe. I'm like 90% sure it's a middle grade. I hope I'm correct in saying that. So this one sounds really cool. I don't know, I just like cutesy magic, and I thought it would be like a fun read. So I'm hoping it's as fun as it seems like it would be. And the last one, of course, is Carry On. I haven't actually read this one yet, and the sequel comes out I think next week. So I'm really hoping that, or actually when I upload this, it'll be this week. So I'm hoping that I'm able to get to this one this month, because it's supposed to be amazing. And it's really thick, but I've heard it's a really quick read. And I love Harry Potter. I really loved a Fangirl. This one was the one that was Fangirl, right? Yeah, okay, this Fangirl's like right there on my shelf. So I'm like looking over, I'm like, is that one the Rainbow Rowell? And I'm like, yes, okay. Because I know there's a couple that were about that are about girls that were writing books. So I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is the one. So yes, this is the one. This one's like the gay Harry Potter. So I'm really hoping that I love this one. I'm pretty sure I will. I don't think I really need to hope for too much. I think it'll happen. But I'm hoping I can get to it this month. So fingers crossed I can get to that one. So then those are all the physical ones I plan on reading this month, or plan on trying to read this month, I should say. Any that I read will probably be from that stack, unless they're digital. For digital, the only one that I really plan on reading is the rest of the books in the Spark series, the series that's like the Unpredictable Magic series. And there was another book that's one of our club reads. It's like Miss Magic or something. I'll have a picture of it right here. But it's one of the club reads in Book Battle this month. So I'd like to read that one as well. And there's another one too that's like Voice of Power or something. I'll put a picture of that right here too. That's another one that I plan on reading this month. I know that the Miss Magic one is about I believe it's like a magic mystery. So she's like a witch, so it's a cozy mystery, but with like a witch main character. And then last I checked, it was free on Kindle, so I believe it still is. So, because I just saw that it was free this month, so it should still be free. So if that's something you're interested in, like a witch cozy mystery, definitely check that one out. And then the other one, I think it's like Voice of Power. But I'll have a picture, so it'll say what the title is right here. That one is about a girl who has I believe her voice has the power of like magic. So it's another magic book, but instead of like it being like wands or anything like that, it's like your voice. So somehow she's like some sort of a voice mage. The details on that one are a little fuzzier because I haven't even like, I've downloaded the sample of it, but I haven't actually like gotten the book itself, because you can only have a set number of books on Kindle Unlimited at a time. So what I like to do is when there's a book I'm interested in reading, I'll just download the sample. So I'll have like a whole bunch of samples in my library, and then when I get around to reading the sample, then I'll get the real book like after I'm done reading the sample. So that way I don't have to worry about the space issue of only being able to have, I believe it's like 6 at a time or 10 at a time, something like that. So then that becomes a non-issue, and I don't have to ever worry about trying to remember a book that I want. I just get the sample and I call it good. Let me know if you've read any of these books, whether they're ones that I've read this month, or ones that I am thinking about reading this month, and let me know what you rated them and what you thought about them. And let me know if there's any that you've read that you think would have been good witchy ones for me to put on my TBR for next time I have like some witchy vibes going on. Or even for October, because October's got some great vibes for that too. See you guys next time. Bye!